As we write tests for our application, we need to know how much of our code is covered with tests. So back in terminal, when running ng test, we're going to pass a parameter, --code -coverage. With this, we get a new folder here, coverage, which gives us a report of how much of our code is under tests. So let's open up this index.html in our browser. And this is what we get. So on the top, you can see a summary of code coverage. So here we have 93% of the statements under tests, 100% of branches, which means if and else blocks or execution paths, 77% of the functions, and 96% of lines of code. And next to that, you can see a more detailed number. So 79 lines out of 82 lines of our code are currently under test. Now below this summary, you can see a breakdown of code coverage based on the folders and files. So let me show you something. I'm going to go back to the tests that I wrote in the last lecture for our to-dos component. I'm going to disable a couple of tests here. So the test that we wrote for the delete method. To disable a test, you can put an X before the it function. So that's one test, and here's the other test. You can also disable an entire suite by adding an X before the describe function. Now save. Now Karma re-executed our tests, and you can see 2 tests have been skipped. With this, if we come back to this page and refresh, look at the services folder. Now our code coverage here is reduced to 75%. Let's have a closer look. So here we have 2 files, our to-do service and our to-do component. In to-do service, our coverage is 60%. Let's have a look. So the lines that are highlighted with red are the lines that have no coverage in our tests, which makes perfect sense because we haven't written any unit tests for this service. That's what we're going to do in the next section, because in order to write tests for this service, we need to run this in the Angular environment. Now let's get back. Let's look at our to-dos component. Look, we don't have any tests for the delete method. So this is how you can track how much of your code is covered with tests. Now, what is the ideal number for code coverage? Should we aim for 100%? Well, ideally, yes, but that's really hard to meet in a lot of projects. And as I told you at the beginning of this section, it really depends on the time and budget of your project. If you have enough time and budget for writing tests, it's good to have at least 70% code coverage. Otherwise, if you have limitations and constraints, focus on the critical parts of your application. Write tests for methods with complex logic, especially methods with multiple execution paths that take longer to test manually. So that's all about code coverage, and this brings us to the end of this section. I hope you enjoyed this section, and thank you for watching.